of the Meek, where we watch made-for-TV movies and miniseries so you don't have to. From Gia to Xenon, Hysteria to Sybil, welcome to Movies of the Meek.
Yeah, Turkey Hollow is about a father, recently divorced father, who takes his two children, Tim and Annie, or Anna, whatever, to the town of Turkey Hollow to stay with their aunt, the crazy hippie aunt, Aunt Cly, during Thanksgiving. While they're there, they they kind of hang out. They settle a property dispute. They get lost in a magical forest, and they meet some like weird monster puppets. And that's it, Max. That's literally all that happens. In that order.
In your opinion, did you really feel that the puppets were necessary?
No. I mean, they served a purpose and a few key points in the plot. Like when the kids are trapped, they obviously need to be, and like what else is going to eat the foundation of the building to let them out?
Yeah, and we've already established they love to eat rocks,
which I have an issue with that. Like that doesn't make any sense. They're clearly mammals. Like they shouldn't be eating those rocks.
But they're magic. They established that.
But I was surprised how little they mattered to the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was what I meant.
Yeah, like I mean the way the movie's presented, it's like this, like they should have been the main characters. And and they show up early enough in the film. It's not like, we don't see them until the end or something, but we get introduced to them and they kind of like disappear for a while. And they don't do much. They just show up to eat some rocks occasionally.
Also, I'll say this, aesthetically, Jim Henson disappointed me. Because they are some of the ugliest creatures I've ever seen. And
they look like Labyrinth rejects.
Yeah, like they weren't magical or whimsical creatures. Like it wasn't like I saw them and I was like, oh, this is like a wonderful Jim Henson property. I saw them and I was like, those are disgusting. They are the made for TV equivalent of a Jim Henson character.
Yeah, they're very ratty looking. I was more impressed by the tree, the magical tree, than I was
the dancing tree.
Yeah.
Ludacris is the greatest part of this movie.
It's so weird. Like I don't know why he's in this movie. Beside maybe to sell Turkey Hollow merch. I have no idea. But he doesn't even like. He's the narrator. But he doesn't really narrate. He kind of just shows up before a commercial break and just like cracks a joke, and it's usually like some kind of self-aware joke about the movie and how like it's a made-for-TV movie and how it's cheesy.
And it's also like he's just making commentary on all the stuff that's happened, and it's also just like, oh, watch these little crackers try and figure out what happens next. Ho ho ho! And then he has a drum kit, and he's like, motherfucker, you don't think I like to play the drums, bitch? It's just super bizarre.
It is really, and it gets more bizarre as the movie progresses. Like
him wearing camouflage, dude, was the single most thrilling part of my year.
He's in a ghillie suit. It's so funny. He's like, now you see, Turkey Hollow may be a dangerous, mossy place, but ha ha!
I fucking died.
I mean, Ludacris just had fun with it. I mean, he obviously wasn't anywhere near these actors. Like he was on a green screen somewhere.
Yeah,
and did all these scenes. I loved it. Whatever. I mean, I don't think some of the self-aware stuff didn't really work for me.
No, not at all.
I thought it was kind of lame, but
yeah.
But he was fine. I don't know. Yeah, Turkey Hollow is the turkey capital of the world apparently in this universe.
Yeah.
And there's no technology or cell reception in this town.
Yeah.
They when the family first gets to Turkey Hollow, they realize there's like a urban legend. It's called the the hoodoo.
The hoodoo.
The hoodoo, which is he looks like Bigfoot or something. I thought that was gonna play that was gonna be a character in the movie. But it's not, obviously. But we do have the four other monsters. If you want to just talk about them real quick. Again, I know you just said they were really ugly.
I believe they're called squanches.
They're called squanches. Their names are Squonk, Burble, Zork, and Thring.
Thring.
And Thring, if you can imagine, like a little bell that plays when it says its name. And these creatures they communicate by saying their own name.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with this, like their language skills in this.
So here are my two favorite things with the language. So they only say their names, so they're like Pokemon, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then my favorite thing in the entire world is that they had a scene that is exactly like the movie Arrival, where it's this boy is trying to figure out how to communicate with them. He has this weird makeshift keyboard with
a keyboard with horns,
horn attached to it that makes all the sound come out of it. And so he has this weird ass keyboard machine, and he's using that to communicate with them because he found out that that's what his uncle was doing.
Yes.
And so there's this scene that, once again, like Arrival, he's trying to figure out how to communicate with these creatures that don't have a language that connects to any preconceived concept that we have of language. And so this child is trying to figure out, and unlike the movie Arrival, there isn't a progression of steps. All of a sudden he's just like, yeah, I understand everything. Thring! And then they all run in the direction, and the movie continues moving.
It really
on.
doesn't make any sense. So he finds this, like you said, that weird instrument to communicate that his uncle made.
Yeah.
They find these monsters in the woods. It's him and his sister are out in the woods, and he plays like one sound on that thing, and then he's instantly able to communicate with in English. Like he talks to them in English, and they understand him. And then
now, my other favorite thing that happens, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I hope it's what I'm about to say too. So,
but there's one sequence that has subtitles.
Yes. I have it in all caps in my notes because I was so blown away they did that. They did that because that was the only time in the movie where it was just the squanches talking to each other.
Yeah.
So there was no human speaking English to latch on to. So we had to. It was just one subtitle. It was like this way or something.
No, it was.
What did it say? I don't remember.
So like the one squanch like falls down, and he's like, "You can go on without me.
Yeah, that's what
I
it was.
can't make it." And the other one's like, "We're in this together." And I was like, "Why is this moment happening?"
It was so fucking weird, Max. Oh my god. So they arrive in town.
Yeah.
They find out about the whole hoodoo shit. Like go to a gift shop, and then they go to the Aunt Clyde's house, her farm.
Who is the mother from Step Brothers?
Yeah, he's the mother from Step Brothers. She seems really out of it in this role, and I don't know if that's because she was trying to be like a hippie.
Yeah,
which she obviously is. She's a total hippie. Doesn't have a TV. Doesn't believe in. She's a vegan. She doesn't believe in raising turkeys to eat. I don't understand. Whatever.
Well, so that's the funniest contradiction to me, which is it's not that she doesn't believe in raising turkeys to eat, it's that she believes in raising turkeys naturally, still to eat though.
But
she is a vegan.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it's like super counterintuitive to everything that
and the
vegans
whole
stand
town is built on slaughtering turkeys.
Yeah.
The whole town, yeah. I mean, turkeys are roaming everywhere in this town. It's called Turkey Hollow,
And yet the turkey sound they use is a goddamn stock sound, which is the same one from South Park, and that's all I could think. If you watch the Thanksgiving episode of South Park, which is about the miracle worker, the sound that the turkey gobbles makes is the exact same sound the entire fucking movie, and they reuse that sound like 900,000 times.
I didn't notice that. I think it just worked, I was totally absorbed into this world.
Seamless.
But yeah, I would, now that I think of it, this movie has nothing to do with Thanksgiving other than this town like raises turkeys.
They have a Thanksgiving dinner at the end.
Yeah, but that's kind of it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it just happens to take place during Thanksgiving week.
Yeah,
and the town's called Turkey Hollow, but like there's no ties to like Thanksgiving as a holiday or anything. It's just about like these fucking weird monsters in the woods. So they get to her house. She's she's pretty cold woman. And
goddess, no, she isn't.
The whole time, Annie, the sister, is just being a total bitch. Like, oh my god, she's the worst. Because her cell phone doesn't work. She's constantly commenting on how her cell phone doesn't work throughout the whole movie.
We're officially off the grid. That's so cool. I've never been off the grid before.
There's one line, dude. Like, it was so. Oh, they're like hanging out at Aunt Clyde's house, and she goes like, "Man, I'm missing so much internet snark right now." Hashtag boring.
Hashtag boring.
So Tim finds himself in the basement, and I mean, I don't know about you, Max, but there had to been like, it looked like there's been like centuries of cobwebs down there.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous how much, like, I mean, I don't know how long the uncle's been dead for. I mean, I can't imagine that many years, but anyway, all of his squanch materials are down there, his posters, and he has that weird instrument to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And he just has like, I think he has like a notebook with just the names written over and over again. It's like, for someone researching these things. Pretty sparse notes.
It's also funny knowing that he just wrote their names down, especially once we learn later in the movie that the aunt also knows about them. So it's like, why would he have to write the names down? I don't know.
But I guess just so Tim can discover it. So Tim finds out about these well, he doesn't know they're monsters yet. He's really confused. And later that night, Tim is trying to go to bed, and he hears the squanches making noises. I don't know which. I think it's Squonk is the one, and that's it.
Who fucking cares?
You just hear squonk. And so he goes looking in the woods, and he trespasses Aunt Clyde's neighbor's turkey farm, and lets like 200 turkeys go.
Now, this is at this point in the film, I already had tuned out a little bit. And so I initially thought that the neighbor was pointing a gun at him. And
no, yeah, I made a note of that.
And then when I focused, it's a golf club.
No, I thought it was a cane. It was a golf club?
No, it's a golf club.
That's even stranger.
Now, before all of this happens, I made a note of this because this was the worst thing in the entire world, which is you know, the obvious thing that's happening is that, you know, you have the daughter who's an annoying piece of shit character who's just like all about technology and all about like her friends, and they establish it in frame 1 of the goddamn movie where her face is covered by holding her phone in front of her face, which is just super intentional and obnoxious. And then she's just saying obnoxious stuff the entire way. And so, you know, the dad is bringing them there, and he's obviously disjointed from his kids, and you're like, okay, so that's what the lesson's gonna be, is that he's gonna have to reunite with his kids, but at the same time, like, the sister's probably gonna learn how to be a better sister and stop being such a shitty person. And so 15 minutes into the movie is literally nothing but like people like saying exposition that's like just trying to fucking develop pathos, where like the fucking daughter Anna goes, you know, we're a burden on you, and then she walks away, and the dad's just like, you know what, I'm just trying to make ends meet since the divorce. And then the aunt goes, you know, you're trying to unload them on me? Just make sure you take them when you leave. Like, there's literally, like, 15 minutes into the movie is just everyone unloading these stupid lines with this stupid dramatic movie to try and make you feel something.
That was a bit heavy, right?
It was so heavy. It was fucking 15 minutes in. I was like, why is this happening now?
Because we need the rest of the movie to see these fucking puppets, Max. We don't have time for that shit because the kids get fucking lost in the woods for 3 days. That was a kind of an insane scene though. Like,
yeah, it was so long, and he's just like, I just don't have any money, and so yeah, I came here to just drop my kids off and have you look after them while I did work. You know, when my friend's parents got divorced, they at least had the decency to spoil them.
She is such a bitch, dude. She's the worst. Okay.
But then this becomes a fucking property dispute movie,
Yeah.
which is the strangest thing, which is that, like, so all of his turkeys are let out, and he's like, you know what? I have 175 turkeys. Each one of them weighs approximately 30 pounds, which then means if you're going by, and the sheriff's like, $1.98 a pound. He's like, yes, then that means that it's approximately just about 9,500 and blah, blah, blah dollars, which means that you have to give me almost 10 grand in 2 days, otherwise your property is mine. And I was like, what the fuck is this movie?
And the sheriff, I mean, yeah, it's insane. The sheriff doesn't, he's just like, yeah, that sounds about right to me. This dude's a joke. Like, the whole movie is like, is Aunt Clyde gonna have to give her entire farm up? Which I don't know how much that's worth, but I'm sure it's more than $10,000.
Yeah.
And in 2 days, they have 2 days to settle this.
And so the dad's like, I guess I'm gonna have to work overtime now. Talk to my boss.
Yeah. But this moves the plot forward, Max, because now Tim, obviously he feels guilty for doing this. He remembers that he saw a Hoodoo wanted flyer in the basement. And the reward is $10,000 conveniently.
For just a photo.
For just one photo of the hoodoo. So he goes out the following day with his sister to find the hoodoo.
Yeah. She sees him sneaking off with that giant fucking megaphone keyboard thing, and she's like that fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, I love it 'cause I wrote a note because she's giving him shit for like this whole plan, and I was like, why the fuck is he counting on this reward of $10,000 from like a flyer from 15 years ago?
Yeah.
And then the sister actually says that. You fucking idiot, that flyer's from 15 years ago. But he's like, do you have a better plan? And then she's like, no, I'll stop being a bitch. And then they go looking. And then they immediately find the squanches. And then that leads right into the scene you talked about a little while ago, with him instantly knowing how to communicate with them. It's just so dumb.
I hate their noises. I'm sorry.
I hate them. I hate them. I hate each of them. They're not cute, right?
No.
And they're not even like cute, in an ugly way, kind of, like E.T., like he's pretty ugly looking, but he's cute. I don't know. But they're not, I don't know.
Unless you watch the porn version where he's 100% cute.
Well, I mean, we both watched the porn. I watched two E.T. porns. Both are very cute. Yeah, they weren't cute. I didn't feel anything for them. I mean, like, they just eat rocks. That's all they do.
Yeah.
That's their main, like, and another thing is, like, they don't develop any personality throughout the movie. They're all, like, they might as well just be the same thing.
Yeah. Which we find out that they combine to create the hoodoo, so they kind of are the same thing.
They combine.
They're like fucking Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we find out that they do combine to make the hoodoo to protect the enchanted forest.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how it's enchanted besides that the trees dance.
Yeah.
We can get to that when we get to that.
And that's another thing that I think is weird, is that, so the aunt like walks up to the tree and she starts banging on this rock and the tree starts dancing and she's like dancing along with it. And the dad, like, immediately is just like, he's like, you know what? Like, that's not magic. Like, there's an easy scientific explanation. And he starts going in depth, like, with a logical explanation of how that could happen.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you know what? Like, some things are just, like, beyond explanation. And he was like, no, like, I'm literally telling you, like, that's probably what it is. And he goes, and the only reason that I know that is because of the fact that, like, my son and I watch a lot of the Discovery Channel. And then he's like, my God, my son, I should save my son. Now, the reason that I'm bringing that up is that because if we think about him as a person and his scientific mind and how he's applying logic to try and comprehend these creatures and these trees, it's so confusing that both he and his son just automatically are just like, yeah, they're magical monsters.
Yeah.
Because you could logically think that, like, maybe there's some reason why genetically they've evolved to be those creatures, but instead they're like, nope, magic monsters, magic forest.
They evolved to eat only rocks.
Yeah. Completely
logical.
Yeah.
Yeah. The father is pretty quick to just accept Clyde's ridiculous claims about the forest, but I thought it was insane that the kids go missing and then the father and Clyde go out searching for them, and they spend the entire night in the forest.
Yeah,
they're like a full night, like without calling the cops, without getting a search party. They straight up just like walk around the forest all night.
I mean, they're armed with echinacea infused green tea, which quote unquote has quite a kick.
I like how that comes back later in the movie, and she actually uses the thermos as a projectile.
And it's a CGI.
It's a
thermos.
CGI thermos. So the children, they are wandering around the woods and they come upon like the storage shed where the evil turkey man's keeping all his steroid hormone feed for the turkeys.
Yeah.
And also, so right before this, all the turkeys that escaped previously, they come back to the farm, but the evil turkey man decides to not tell anyone, obviously, so he can still get Clyde's farm. So he stores all the turkeys. We didn't even mention his two henchmen, his mentally challenged henchmen.
That are also incestuous.
Yeah.
That was necessary to bring up.
Yeah. there was a lot of weird stuff going on with
He's
them.
got stuff to blackmail me on because I'm a garbage human being. Oh, me too. He could talk about the fact that my wife is my first cousin. And I was just like, of course they're going to have incest in this movie. Of course.
Yeah. So they're storing
Who is that joke for?
I don't. Well, that's another thing. This was supposed to be like a Lifetime kids movie, and I thought some of the humor in this movie was kind of crude.
Yeah.
There's like a masturbation joke right after Tim lets all the turkeys out of the pen.
Yeah.
The sheriff is constantly making passes at Aunt Cly.
Yeah, real aggressive ones.
And yeah, it's not even like, hey, like that dress looks really good on you. Do you want to go out for a date? And then she's like, nah. It's like, hey, do you want to take a bath with me? Like weird shit like that.
I also, when he knocks on the door and he sees her for the first time, he goes, I didn't mean to disrobe you, I mean disturb you.
And then it pans to her boobs.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. I don't know. I was like kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I was like, it's supposed to be a kids movie.
Yeah, it's real bizarre.
There's a lot of humor like that in this. But yeah, I don't fucking know. The kids find all the feed and the stupid the mentally challenged henchmen come back and they find the kids and they lock them in the shed. Like, they are committing crimes. They're kidnapping these children.
Yeah, and they also have apparently no problem with killing them, basically.
Yeah.
Like the amount of voltage that they say the cattle prods have could kill those kids.
He said there's over 1 million volts.
Yeah, he's like, there's 1 million volts in these cattle prods, and I was like, oh, so they're gonna fucking die. And they're both like, all right, let's do it.
Over $10,000 worth of turkeys.
So they lock them in the stupid turkey vault. And when they lock them in there, obviously the fucking stock turkey sounds come back in full effect, and it's the bane of my existence. But also, when they lock the kids in there, Anne's allergic reaction should have acted up immediately. Because we saw her inside of like a regular bedroom that just so happened to have feather pillows and like down comforters. And just being in that room, she had a harsh reaction and started sneezing. Whereas she's able to fall asleep in a cage filled with turkeys. And it's only after that she wakes up and she's like, oh, now I'm dying. And it's like, no, like, you shouldn't have even been able to go to sleep because you have been so affected by it.
I find it funny that her father brought her to a town, like the turkey capital of the world, knowing, I mean, this is assuming that he knew about her turkey allergy, her feather allergy. But, like, that's just insane to me that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. She survives a long time in that shed.
Yeah.
For being as sensitive as she is to feathers. But yeah, so Cly and the dad, I don't even know the dad's name. I don't think they even say it once. They find the children, right?
Yeah.
And I love this scene because the dad's like trying to, it's a garage door, and he's like trying to like kick it down, but it's a garage door. So and he's like I should be able to do this. I've seen Liam Neeson movies where he's done this before. I'm like, what?
It's impervious to my attacks.
It's a steel garage door. So, again, instead of calling the cops or doing something like that, Aunt Cly uses the magical keyboard communicator and calls the Squanches to come eat the rocks of the foundation. So So that happens.
Which also brings up possibly my favorite line of the movie, which is when they show up and the dad sees them. He goes, "What the fuck? The animals?"
Yeah. Yep. I wrote that one down. That was a good. That and the Liam Neeson one.
Oh God.
Fuck. So I don't. What happens next? They get the kids out. The henchmen come back with the crazy cattle prods.
Yeah,
to kill the children. By the way, they were coming back to murder the children. I think.
Yeah, they were going back to murder kids, which they had no problem with. It's probably all the inbreeding that makes it so that they have no problems with it. And then so they're gonna kill everyone now. They're like, well, we can't have you escape. We're trying to take your farm and keep the turkeys too. And then so they chase after everybody. They have a car and yet somehow are still incapable of chasing after all of them.
And it's at this point they're trying to position Aunt Cly as like some sort of badass. I noticed like like she goes from being this hippie lady to like now she's like she can kick some ass when she needs to.
Yeah, because as soon as we have the revelation that she knows about the squanches, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you knew about the squanches?" And she's like, "Yeah, because I'm real cool." And yeah, so she throws the thermos and it slams into the car, but it doesn't completely damage the windshield, so it basically does nothing. And she's like, "I told you that green tea with echinacea had a kick." And then they all are on the edge of a cliff, and you think they're about to die, and then the two fucking hillbilly dudes get out of the car, and they're like, "We're gonna fucking murder all of you." And then the fucking squanches turn into the hoodoo and scare them into cattle prodding each other, which is, of course, hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And, they're writhing in pain on the ground.
And then they're like, "Oh shit, we have to be back to not have the farm taken from us in 10 minutes. What are we gonna do?" And they're like,
so they take the car.
Which, again, with the whole Clyde being a badass, she decides to hotwire the car. I mean, like, the keys are probably
in the car
or on one of the lifeless bodies of the henchmen.
But you have to prove that she's cool.
She's like, "Who needs keys when you can hotwire a car?" So they make it back
because you have 15 minutes and like 10 of those minutes should be spent hotwiring a car.
But they do make it back in time.
Yeah.
And the evil turkey man gets ousted and then he also gets, which I thought was kind of crazy, the squanches attack him. Like, so he runs away after they're like, he kidnapped our children and tried to murder them, and he's lying about the turkeys, and the sheriff, because he doesn't do anything based off evidence, just says, "Oh, okay, I believe you."
They could have said that stuff in the beginning of the movie, and because he wanted to fuck the aunt, like, it would have had the same effect, probably.
Exactly. Evil Turkey Man leaves. The squanches like brutally attack him, like like they like slash his face open. Yeah, and that's it, Max. There's I think there's like one or two more Ludacris skits.
So there's two, which is crazy.
Yeah. There's like a sports, he's like a sportscaster or something, and they're betting. That's before. So the turkey.
There's a few things that I want to go over in this end because it's fucking crazy. So, so when the squanches turn into the hoodoo and we come to the conclusion that they're the hoodoo the first time, this is when the postmodern deconstruction of narrative starts coming in at its hardest, which is where you find out that the four squanches are like transformers and can turn into the hoodoo. And the aunt says there's a message and a lesson about sticking together in there somewhere, but whatever. And then they decide to, go on their way, and it's like, fuck you, movie. And then after, they get to the bottom of the turkey guy's stuff, and the turkey guy's, plots are foiled. That's when the kid goes, and I would have gotten away with it too,
I forgot about that.
if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Why does the kid say it? If you're gonna make the joke, like have the right person say it.
And so that's the thing, is that it's just like it's this fucking postmodern like self-awareness that it's just like, just because like the script writer thinks he's clever doesn't mean that the movie is actually like clever and good.
That would have been clever in like the 60s when like Scooby-Doo was a thing.
And it's like you're by doing these things and making these references, like, it completely defuses any sense of sentimentality that the movie could have had. Like, you could have, yes, had a movie that had a message about sticking together, which up until she defuses it, it did have that lesson. And you could have seen all the squanches coming together as a meta-narrative of that lesson. But instead, she's just like, sticking together, fucking gay. Like, that's
literally what she says, though.
That's literally what she does. And so it's just bullshit. And, at the very end, they all have a Thanksgiving dinner with the squanches, which is fucking weird. Like, she has them at the table and they're eating with them. They're just like chilling and eating rocks. Yes. And then the sheriff comes back and she's like, why don't you come inside? Oh, fuck, I forgot the squanches are at the table. And the sheriff's like, ooh! And he gets fucking terrified, but he wants to fuck the aunt real bad, so he's like stoked to be there. And so then they're all like gathered around this table and like having a great time. And then she decides to play a fucking ukulele and the squanches sing with her, which was the worst thing I've ever seen on television.
Yeah.
She's playing ukulele and they have no sense of melody or anything. It's just them going like, squanch, thrill. And it's just like, what the fuck is this? And then there's another fucking Ludacris thing where it's like, and that's it, everybody. What a great story. Happy holidays, Thanksgiving. Ooh, yeah. And it's a shame because of the fact that, like, this story was written in 1968 by Jim Henson.
Like, it obviously had some heart at one point. Like, I don't know what the original story looks like compared to this, but I'm sure it had some messages in there.
And it's one of those things where it's like, knowing that Jim Henson and the guy who did Fraggle Rock wrote this together, okay? Like, those are two fucking huge dudes in the puppet industry. And when I saw that musical sequence happening, like that, I automatically, it clicked in my brain. I was like, this is probably what the dude from Fraggle Rock wanted, and this is just like some bastardized version of it.
Yeah. Jim Henson's wife was like the producer on this or something. Like, she signed off on everything in this movie. She's like, yeah, this is up to our standards.
This is what he would have wanted.
You're right. I mean, I don't know. This movie does have potential. Like, it did, like you were saying with it having a message. Like, it could have had a message, but they decided to be, like, funny about it. And, like...
yeah.
And they're like, you know what this movie needs? Ludacris.
And they were right.
Yeah, I mean, every movie needs Ludacris.
Yeah.
But he was fine. I thought everyone was fine in this movie except for the child actors. I didn't like them.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
And the sheriff was like fucking terrible. I guess he was just trying to play an awkward perv, which is how he came off. So.
Yeah. Next week, we'll be watching Karate Dog, the greatest film to ever star Chevy Chase as a karate dog.
Cherry Chase.
Cherry Chase.
This movie looks incredible.
It's all on YouTube, and it's so good.
Wait, is it like mostly? Is this a puppet or CG?
Oh, that is CG.
Whoa, this dog looks so fucking fake. Oh my god.
Are you sure?
Okay. Good pick, dude.